Hello, podcasters. We are here, the ladies of Read, Watch, and Wine. And I am Rhea,
Treva,
and Lynn. And we are here to bring to you our book to movie series adaptation of Leave That World Behind.
This was written by, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I pronounce all names wrong, so feel inclusive. Is Rumaan Alam.
Mm-hmm.
He and the director, Sam Ishmael, they got together and did a premiere in our hometown, or I guess Montgomery County, in the author's hometown of Bethesda. So we were able to actually attend that. And I was trying to find the page to show you, but we actually were able to get his signature in his book. So it was pretty awesome. This book came out in 2020, actually right at the beginning of the pandemic. And it was adapted immediately by the director.
It was great. The opening was so nice. The discussion went really well.
I missed it.
And sorry, Rhea, you didn't make it, but Lynn and I had a ball.
Notes and everything. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. And they had a question and answer session at the end of it where everyone got to ask, well, certain folks got to ask the author and the director questions. Unfortunately, we didn't get to ask him one, but I'm going to talk about a little bit of that when we get through the adaptation, because I want to talk about one of the changes.
Same. But until then, we are drinking Aslana wine. It is the South African wine made by the first Black winemaker in, I guess technically it's America. No, it's Africa.
Yeah.
South Africa. Sorry, my brain is going.
First female African wine maker.
Yes. And actually, speaking of meeting people, I got to meet her and talk to her about her wine. I got to have a couple of drinks with her and pick her brain about going through school and literally being the only Black person in her class, to kind of being like, you know, the underdog, and then coming out and being like, look, I named the winery after my grandmother. We really didn't have money to get through school, but guess what? We made it happen. So look out for her wine. She is amazing. It's a good one to support.
Very nice. All right, let's dive into the book. Leave the World Behind.
Go. Let's talk for like 20 minutes. Somebody else needs to go.
Okay. I had mixed emotions about the book. I absolutely love the storyline, and it definitely kept me engaged. But the ending in the book, it was sort of like it just fell off. It was this big buildup to something that I didn't get. So I was a little disappointed in the ending of the book. What do you say, Rhea?
Well, you know me. I need to end my book because now I have 5 different endings floating around in my head. And something's going to have to happen so that I can get one of those endings. It was good, but I kind of left feeling like, okay, when's part 2 coming? When's book 2 coming? Because I need book 2. I need, you know, the rest of them to then fight over who's going to be down there and who's going to live down there and then have babies or something. I don't know. Or like a deer.
Oh, in the basement area.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, Noah's Ark or something. I don't know. But I needed some sort of a finale.
So it's interesting that you said that, because when I read the book, I didn't have a visual of like that basement and this hideaway for the daughter. And sorry, this is full of spoiler alerts. Hopefully you guys have watched the movie or the book.
You should have.
But when I watched the movie, like it kind of brought that in together for me, because I just felt deprived at the end of that book. Like something wasn't gelling. It was like the author just got tired of writing.
So for me, to be honest, you know, I do watch a lot of crazy shows, and I used to be a doomsday preppers addict. So I envisioned that whole basement.
Oh, okay.
I knew exactly where they were going. I did not picture the room being as obvious, but I did picture all of the room and cans and everything everywhere, because that's what they do in doomsday preppers. So I, in reading the book, was just like, yes. And then, you know, she talked about, you know, what would happen.
So I did feel like it had, of course, like it ended abruptly and I needed to know more. But I liked that because I wanted more, which obviously means that we're all ready for a book 2 if he wants to do that. But also, I really wanted to talk to you guys about like how you felt with that ending. So for me, it's a conversation starter. Like, how do you get where do you go from here? And so, spoiler, I guess, not into the book, but into the review that Chief and I went to, or the premiere. One of the questions that was asked to the author was like, why did you end the book like that? Like, where did your mind go to end a book like that? And he said, back when, COVID first happened, everyone was like trying to find ways to connect with each other, but it was all through either social media or Zoom, or everybody watched The Tiger King when it came out. So it was always this like entertainment aspect. And if that's gone, how do you connect with people? By sitting down, by talking to them in front of a campfire, having conversation. So he said that from the book, he wanted people to like draw a conversation out naturally, where it didn't come from a social media post, or it didn't come from, oh, let's all sit and watch the same movie versus talk about the same movie. So when he told me that, I was like, you know what? That's kind of how I felt. At first I was like, I have to call Rhea and Treva what happened in this book. But I realized his intention was exactly what happened. I want to talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't. I was just mad.
Well, and then also in the book, there was a lot of discussion about, not a lot, but I mean, there was discussion about like when certain health things happen. Like, I don't know if you remember in the book when they were talking about how, the symptoms happen with the son, and it says, yeah, the mom doesn't know now, but she's gonna have something, or she's gonna feel
in a couple of months. The same thing's gonna happen to her.
So to me, it was like there was some that I could draw from to come up with this.
That everybody was going to die?
No, because he didn't say, they never really said everybody. He just dropped a couple of people. There wasn't everybody.
You're right.
They would get to this point too, but it wasn't as exact about certain things they said about some people. And then people changed when the movie came out. But that's what's throwing me, because it was like the mom, wait, who's the mom? But yeah, so I think I got a little bit, but I don't know. I just needed an ending or more. So I'm very anxious about a book 2.
I didn't get the impression that there was going to be a book 2 from the discussion. No.
What the hell?
I didn't.
I wanted a book 2.
But I agree with Lynn that it definitely was thought-provoking. Like not only did they want you to have discussions about the ending, but they wanted you to have discussions about biases that he sort of sprinkled in that book and in the movie. Like that was so intentional. And both the author and the director spoke about their experiences with biases throughout their lives. So that was really interesting. And so it was important for the director to capture that in the movie. So he went above and beyond to make sure he captures that. But a side note is that although they talked about biases, the bias of the facilitator in the question answer session did not allow her to call on one person of color for a question.
Facts. I would.
Wait a minute. Rewind.
Yes.
Rewind. We are invited to a premiere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We go.
Yeah.
We've actually read the book.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Well, I already know you. Raise hand, ask question all day long. And you weren't able to ask a question?
She didn't call on one person of color. As a matter of fact, when I thought she was calling on me, it ended up that she was calling on this white man that was standing behind me.
Well, like he just strolled in from like outside.
He just strolled in and was standing.
You were like,
and when I tell you, I put my hand up the soon as they I feel like I had my hand up in the air first. And I'm not saying that you needed to call on me, but when I reflected, I was just like, this whole conversation was about biases. And this woman who was conducting the interviews or conducting the facilitated conversation, she did not call on one person of color for a question. And what was disappointing to me is that every person she called on had not read the book. Like we had
evidence,
pointed questions about the book to movie transition, and nobody actually called in. It was very clear. They had no knowledge of the book. They didn't know the basis of the storyline. Because one question, and we can dive into the movie just a little bit now, that I needed to ask the director is why he changed Ruth. Like I just needed to know that, which I was able to ask the writer how he felt about it afterwards when he was autographing the books.
So let me segue onto that note of the facilitator. So mind you, the author is a person of color himself. Even though he's from Bethesda, Maryland, he himself was Muslim. And then the director, he's Egyptian and Muslim and was raised in Tennessee, Texas, I think is what it was. And he was saying how there was like no representation of anybody Muslim, let alone Egyptian in Texas. But he really wanted the diversity to show within not just the book, but in the movie. So I'm sorry. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Lynn, get back. I'm back. And then when the random lady asked the question, white lady, if you only watched the movie, I kept asking questions to a director trying to say, oh, well, what do you think about it? And I was like, well, the whole point of having both of them here is to have the author and the director both give their insights into how their interpretations varied and or were similar. Right. And they did not ask the author as many questions as they definitely should have, which we were trying to do.
Right. But because nobody that she asked the question read the book. Nobody. So I wonder
if that, do you think that could have been possibly intentional? Maybe to see if the people that were not of color got it?
No.
Well, I think failed that test because nobody read the book. It was completely evident.
It was,
So,
but anyway,
into the adaptation. It was definitely awesome to just for one to see the the author and the director at the same time was amazing. One of the tidbits before I go into my interpretation of the adaptation was the author, the director got the book from, I guess, his a friend or a other publisher. The actual book had not been published yet. He had gotten a copy on his desk and read it prior to being published in June of 2020. And he read through it in one sitting. And he said, find this author. I've got to make this into an adaptation. So before the book was even published to the world, the director was like, I'm on it because I got so many chills and excitement and different scenes in his head of how he envisioned on taking the words to actual the screen. So that was pretty fun to see.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It was a great discussion. I loved hearing them talk about the book and then just their background. The passion that they both had about the diversity of the book and the movie was incredible.
So he wants to mention the first and most obvious adaptation change about Ruth.
So, well, let me just say that I love this adaptation. I think they did a fabulous job. The way that they brought the graphics to life in this movie from what we were reading was just incredible.
Me out.
The deer
was supposed to.
Yeah.
I mean, the deer really, really. I'm looking at the wall and I see the deer.
And how many times have you been driving on the road and the deer is just staring at you? And then you're like, dude, who else is with you? And you look in the woods and there's 5 other ones kind of all watching you. And it's like, what are y'all doing here? Run.
Right.
I can't drive my car because you're going to run in front of it, but at the same time, you're creepily staring at me.
And they captured the essence of how deer act. They captured that perfectly. But back to your question, Lynn.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't understand the change of Ruth. So for those of you who watched the movie and maybe didn't read the book, in the book, the character Ruth was Mahershala Ali's wife. So she played the wife of the African-American character in the book. In the movie, they changed. That's what's his name. I couldn't remember his name. George Washington. So she played George Washington's wife. And in the movie, they changed that character to be his daughter. Now, it worked. I love the way it worked. I love the play on her interaction with the family that was in the house, the Ethan Hawke and Julia Roberts characters. It worked, but I just still didn't understand it. Some of the dynamics that took place, I think, could have only happened with her being a younger character.
And that's basically what the author was saying, that he did not give the suggestion of changing Ruth to her age to the director. But once he read the screenplay that the director had written, or whoever written it, or after he read it, he was just like, this is how you interpret it, to really kind of drill home on not just the ageism, but diversity, the classism, how to add all those aspects in. He was just like, I liked how my interpretation went from one way and he's able to bring it in another way.
Yeah.
By changing the age.
Because that millennial, there's a lot of things that happen when it comes to race that we're later talking about. I can't believe they didn't think I owned this house. But the millennial, and you didn't think we owned it, did you? I mean, right up in your face.
Nothing go.
That's literally what the director said. He was like, with the different ages, a person that was older is something used to being passive, used to being muted because of history and society. And then also living in a world that you have to change your vernacular to match your skin tone surroundings. But a millennial, we don't do that.
No, yeah, I love it. Worked. It worked so well. And it's probably one of the only times that I can remember where they completely changed the character and I wasn't screaming and yelling about it because it worked and it was needed to bring in some of the dynamics that they wanted to capture in the movie.
See, for me, and again, because we've seen this with many other books that maybe only had one or two books that they then carried it on. It could also be that the producer and director may be going to do a part two. Maybe. Because you can take that further with just that whole dynamic of that family, the two families, and create something from that. How did you like what's his name, the handyman?
Oh, Kevin Bacon. First of all, I love me some Kevin Bacon. And he's similar to Ethan Hawke, man. They know how to capture the roles that they were hired to play.
He literally is crazy. He went there with a shotgun, and then after he's like, well, the barter system still was a thing. It's not a barter system. You paid for it. Anyways, I love Kevin Bacon.
But he was like, you can come back, but you won't be in. I won't let you in, or something he said. What did he say?
But I conversation or something.
Right. But that's about it.
Which was kind of cute because I think it wasn't as harsh as in the book, because in the book it was just like, you don't come back don't come back.
Yeah, it was
right.
If you come back, I'm going to shoot you. Where this was a little bit more, you come back, you can talk. That's about it. Mm-hmm.
Do y'all want to talk about that boat scene with the ship
that was
coming up on land? I mean, first of all, the graphics on that were amazing, but I just don't know about sitting and watching the boat come towards me as long as they did in the movie. I was like, can we just get up and run because it's coming in?
So that's something that, I've been, of course, like scrolling through TikTok like crazy, reading listening and watching a lot of TikToks made about this book or actually the movie, because 90% of people didn't read the book, which is what I learned as I was commenting. Like, I read the book.
We've learned a lot about many of our adaptations. Like, people have so many comments and they don't read the book.
Like, you don't even know where it's based from. So, okay, whatever. So one of the things that they said is, or I don't know who it was, somebody said, is for one, like how parents are always kind of like, ignoring their kids, like, whatever, she's tripping again type thing. And the whole time she's like, the little girl was just staring at the book, or the boat, like, y'all don't see this? And eventually, once it became like up in their face and they had to pay attention, was when they listened to her. So it's kind of one of those generational things that we talked about earlier, that you have to like make your voice known. Because me, I'm like, look, y'all want to see if y'all want to, but I'm gone.
I'm out.
And but
even still, they sat and watched it for a minute. And I'm like,
I'm like, get your ass, let's go.
Right.
And something else somebody mentioned was one of the first boats that brought or that was shipped out in the transatlantic slave trade was called the White Lion.
Oh,
and that was the name of the ship that docked. Not the docked, I guess it was.
Who caught that?
Who caught? I don't know. I was scrolling through TikTok and I was like, well, now I gotta go to Google and started Googling it. And wow.
That's crazy. So these are connections that, had Lynn not been on the podcast, we would have never drawn. But I love those types of connections. Because what's the symbolism of that? Of the White Lion coming up on, like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Exactly. So the whole time I was thinking, I'm like, man, if I would have like known these facts, that director and that author would have not let that movie theater. I'd have been like, so I gotta list the questions and start it off, because there's so many things I would have loved to know.
And then also the drones that dropped different threats from different countries, depending on
different languages,
depending on where they were falling. So if they were in the West Coast, they did this. If they were on the East Coast, Midwest, Central, they were all different messages saying that a different group was attacking.
Yeah. So there's so many like symbolism things that I didn't even notice until I started listening to things on TikTok. And
I thought you're gonna make me watch that movie again now. Check out that boat.
There was something else that had to do with the shirt that Clay was wearing, but I completely forgot what it was. That had some symbolism to it too, or some like Easter egg, they call it, whatever. That was hidden. So I gotta look it up. Stay tuned for part 2. Not of the book or movie, but our review once we figure these things out.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love to tie all that stuff down. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, we should write a blog about that. All the symbolisms in that movie.
It was so good.
So all in all, I did like the adaptation. Of course, I saw the casting before it came out. That was not who I envisioned when I read the book, but I'm not mad at any of them.
No.
And so I enjoyed it. And also the author said that when he was presented with the opportunity to have this book adapted to a movie, he said that he was picturing at first like somebody like Denzel. And then as they started talking, he was like, no, we need like a lower named actor, like a, D-list actor. And then after people had read the script, when they wanted to become a part of the cast, he was like, I mean, I had no say, but like, did I ever think it was going to be Julia Roberts and Kevin Bacon? No. But he was like, I'm not mad at it.
No. And I love Marcella. I mean, like, he's amazing in everything he does. So,
have you ever had a dream like you lose your teeth? Like, my God, yes, I have. Because I have, and I was just like, my dream.
When the little boy started losing his teeth, he was so calm. Like, I would have been hysterical. The little boy was calm.
It's like, I feel fine. I have no teeth. Well, but in this day and age, they'll just pop new ones in. So I guess he's like, they'll come on out.
Right. And how about the little girl's friend's obsession? I need to see the last episode.
That comes with the instant gratification of that generation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have to have that closure. And I think that was another symbolized thing, was that like her obsession with like Friends. Like, nowadays we binge everything. So we have the beginning to like the end.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes shows aren't concluded, but at the same time, we know that's the ending.
Right.
But she never got the ending. Well, technically she did, but she had this cliffhanger of an ending where she wanted more, but we got the same conclusion from the book and from the movie.
Yes.
So I think that was part of like the symbolism too, was that like,
that was definitely a connection.
Are we going to get that closure? Because you saw her looking at it. But did the power cut out? Who knows?
All I know is
it cut out. But that she sat and watched that movie and didn't go look for her family.
Didn't tell anybody.
Was
getting shot for her brother's teeth and whatnot.
Yeah, I need to watch this. I'll go back and get them later.
Right. Because they didn't listen to me anyway about going to the houses or
anything else that went on.
Even when she's laying in bed, she said, well, I'm tired of waiting. I got to do something.
Yeah.
That is a Gen Zer right there.
Yep. Got up and rolled out.
Gen Alpha too.
Got up and rolled out.
Well, I mean, Lynn, you brought up the cast. I don't know if you guys want to talk about them. I thought it was magnificent. There's not one cast member I would have changed on that storyline. And you think about the little bit of people that were in the movie, but it was so big. It was like but it was only like, a couple of actors.
It was like 8 people in the whole thing.
So that was just great.
Hey, lady. You can understand a little bit of Spanish. Understand a little bit of Spanish.
Also through TikTok, what I saw was so people were translating like what she said, and basically she said that the deer were like standing there staring at her, none of the power's working, the phones don't work, and planes were crashing. So she's like describing all the things that like each of them had seen: the boat docking, the planes crashing, the deer. She had seen them all, but like didn't know, she couldn't communicate that.
Mm-hmm. And he's so dismissive that he just let her go. Had you taken her with you, somebody in that house would have been able to try to figure. And recognize everything that came together.
What was it, Arabic or something that he recognized?
That's something.
So why wouldn't you? For one, like community-wise, I get that they don't really have a lot of food, but you could have figured it out. Whatever. It's like, why wouldn't you take her with you?
Well, deer's good eating.
There was 100 of them.
You wouldn't say no deer.
They had plenty of meat
because they looked at him like.
But yeah, I feel bad about that woman. But he, it definitely demonstrated his embarrassment for his behavior on that, because he sort of displayed that afterwards.
Very good. It was very good.
It was good.
It was really good.
Yeah, this was a little unconventional of our normal layout for our podcast, because we've got a little bit of insight from the author and director, but hope you guys were able to keep along with us in my squirrel moments. Sorry about that.
All of ours. I know my squirrel moments. I like zone out.
Right.
And come back.
Well, kid's birthday.
I know.
Inside joke. Anyways,
we ready to rate this?
Yeah, I gave it a full glass.
I gave it a full glass.
I gave it a full glass, and because we got to meet the author and director, that adds to the full glass, so we got a full bottle.
All right, so you guys know what to do. It's a full bottle, so you got to read the book.
Yes.
You got to watch the movie, and then you got to tell us what you think about it.
Please.
We'd love to hear back from you.
Conversation. We need to have more.
Yes.
Please, 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 and follow us
on readwatchwine.com, on readwatchwine on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And be on the lookout. We got some new things coming next year. New things coming this year.
What you talking about, Willis?
Thank you so much for following us for this long. Oh God, how long has it been so far?
So before we met up to record, that's why. As we met up to record for this podcast, we were talking about December 13th of this year just marked us 5 years of coming up with the idea of this podcast. And in March of 2024 will actually be the 5-year mark that we launched it. But the idea came about December 13th of 2018, thanks to this lovely multitasker, 18 jobs. And I got
18, 32 jobs and 4 school, it's 4 different degrees.
Anyway, we're just loving it. So we hope that you guys continue to enjoy it. We love to read. We definitely love to watch movies, and we love to share it with you guys. So
like, subscribe, follow us. Please interact. We love to hear what you guys are thinking. If you like something, didn't like it. If you totally disagree with us, please let us know, because we want to hear it.
And we're going to tell you wrong.
Because we always right.
Facts. But we still want to hear it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.